Well, we're looking at the education system with a concern that more teachers are going to go on strike at a massive, massive cost to the education of our youngsters who, let's not forget, during the pandemic saw their educational opportunities thwarted significantly. Let's get reaction now to the threat of more strikes, more industrial action in our schools from Stephen James, award-winning teacher. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, good morning, Mark. Great to see you.
It's lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. So teachers have gone on strike outside their school over alleged gangs of male pupils trying to intimidate them in class and in the playground. Staff at Haydon Bridge High School in Northumberland are taking action over their appalling working conditions this Tuesday and Wednesday, with further strike days scheduled for later this month. Staff say, Stephen, that they feel unsupported by senior figures as they see little effort in being made to tackle these issues. Is behaviour in the classroom getting worse?
Look, I think what you've highlighted there in this particular school is, first and foremost, a real failure of leadership in a school. And the leaders of schools are so important because they set the tone. And if, sanctions aren't being enforced and pupils who are removed from class are sent straight back in, isolation is just a revolving door. Consequences, they don't stick. Pupils assume things that they do wrong don't matter. And leadership very much sets that culture. And school is very much a microcosm of society, and it allows you to push boundaries and explore who you are as a person. And if you never meet those boundaries, you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And if then when you get out into society, you were to behave the same way as you do in school, in your community, then likely you're going to fall foul of law enforcement as well.
Well, that's exactly right. And teachers do a good job. They don't get paid enough to put up with violent threats from students, do they?
No, absolutely not. And do you know, I'm no big fan of the unions. I felt during COVID they got very political in what they were doing. But I think in this case, the industrial action that's happening is ultimately a reflection of the inside of that particular school, and any particular kind of wider strike action. I think if it were to spread from that school, I can't see it, because individual head teachers in individual schools have the authority to enforce sanctions, enforce rules. But I think we also need to shift it away slightly from the school and the leadership and the teachers, because ultimately, parents they spend most of the time with the children to enforce rules and enforce standards. And if you've got absent parents, boundary-free households, and a culture where every sanction is treated as an attack on the child, and it just makes discipline completely impossible. And I've got a teenage daughter and a 10-year-old daughter, and there are times when you just think, you can kind of get on with that. But they're the times you have to stop yourself, because every time you let that slip, standards are falling in the household.
Stephen, can you give my viewers and listeners a sense of what it feels like to be a teacher in the front line when dealing with aggressive, threatening and violent pupils?
Well, I can talk about primary schools, and in that case, it didn't happen so much for me, because one, I was a man, and so children were very reluctant to get violent or aggressive. But I did witness female staff being pushed, hit, even spat on, and those kinds of things. If that's starting in primary school, it only gets worse and worse and worse as you get into high school. And I'm sure you remember what it was like to be in school, maybe back in the 90s, like myself.
Yeah.
And things were rough, and ultimately you were brought back into line by the staff and by your cohort as well, because no child has the right to remove education away from other children either. And that disruptive, low-level behaviour is, if that's constantly happening, then it's going to ruin the potential of all those other children who are actually getting on with things.
Yes, well, on a rare occasion, I actually support this industrial action if it means that teachers feel unsafe going about their daily duty educating youngsters. Stephen, lovely to meet you for the first time. My thanks to Stephen James, an award-winning teacher and now broadcaster and commentator as well.